last minute podcast meetings I've put together as we get ready for the seeding meeting. Monday night, me and Doug will be going through after the seeds are official. We'll break down the bracket, give our predictions. We'll have a guest on to talk, a former coach, talk what he thinks about this season and the upcoming bracket. Um, Still one day left. Big game tomorrow, Trinity Hall and Neptune. That could have some implications into seeding. Unfortunately, from our understanding, Neptune's best player Howard is out. We've heard for the whole year. We're not don't have confirmation on that though, but that could affect the seeding going into Sunday. How coaches you think Neptune will be without their star player. So a lot to talk about the next couple of weeks, and
Yeah.
we could talk about the. You want to just talk about yesterday real quick before we go into the seeding, the Colts Neck Trinity Hall game.
Yeah, we could do that. We could talk about the Jackson game also from 2 nights ago. So from 2 nights ago, Jackson had a chance to win the A South and hang the first banner in Jackson Township High School history, and they accomplished that. They beat Toms River East pretty handily by 28. They lost by 16 the first time they played, so 44-point turnaround. Um, Jackson's one of those teams that I know they're getting healthy, they're getting hot, everybody's back. Uh, they've got size. The thing they lack is a point guard, a true point guard. They do turn the ball over a lot, but they could beat people. There's some people that I think they can upset if they get the right matchup. Um, and then today they beat Manchester to solidify their A South championship. Um, and then last night we went to Colts Neck. Trinity Hall had a chance to make it a three-way championship if they defeated Colts Neck. Colts Neck uh, ended up winning the B North championship outright. So they split. Howell beat Trinity twice. Colts Neck beat Howell twice, and then Trinity and Colts Neck split. So could be interesting Sunday when they go into the seating meeting how the representative's going to fight for each one of them.
Yeah, and that was a back and forth game yesterday. Colts Neck looks
Game of runs.
yeah. Colts Neck strong in the first. Um, we should say Jules Jacina looked very strong in the first offensively, hitting her first six shots before she missed. And then Trinity Hall came out in the second quarter. Feeney got going, and like you said, game of runs. And then Colts Neck just closed the game out. Coach McCarthy was not there; he was ill. But Trinity Hall fought. It's just they've been a little inconsistent on the offensive end, which a lot of these teams have been all season, except if you're the top two.
Yeah. Trinity, again, they're turnover prone also. They're going to turn the ball over. Um, and they've a couple I just don't understand. You have all that talent, and there's been multiple games we've seen them that they haven't hit 30 points.
Yep.
So they're going to have to get that straightened out come next week because right now they're probably looking at a 7 seed, which puts them in SJV's crosshairs
For the quarter.
For a quarterfinal matchup. But if they got to get their offensive problems figured out because they don't want to get picked off by a team seated lower than them. But depending on matchups, you never know.
Yeah. And I just want to go back on Jackson. Um, their win today is actually just as impressive. Just no letdown. You know, Sometimes you might think, "Oh, we clinched it, little letdown," but they're playing their best basketball at the best time of the season right now. Finer, I don't think I haven't seen a player that hot and that couldn't miss against Tom's River East. So if she could continue that way, and Avery Brooks return from injury, another strong body, They had her, she was playing more on the perimeter. It's going to
Right.
take a little while to get into it with coming back from a knee injury, but they're always strong inside if it's the turnovers. And I said something to Rachel at halftime, and I said, "Hey, we're going to limit the turnovers," and she said, "Probably not, but we are going to play defense." And
Yep.
and that's what you get out of Jackson. So I just think today's win against a tough Manchester team who's picked off some of the top county teams recently. East Point Borough, they came back in that Point Borough game. So some good basketball at the end of the season in Ocean County.
Yeah. I mean, listen, let's be honest. Let's take the top 3 teams out of this. 2 for sure. And Manasquan hasn't lost a game in their division other than to SJV and RBC. So we could take the top 2, probably 3 out, and you could go down 10, 12, 13 teams deep, and anybody can win this tournament. Unfortunately, I don't think anybody is thinking otherwise. It's going to end up 1 and 2 unless some miracle on ice 1980 U.S. hockey beating the Russians happens, which has only happened once in history. So we could talk about this, and we'll talk about the PowerPoints and where the PowerPoints have teams ranked, and we're going to talk about adjustments we think the committee might make. But when it comes down to it, nobody's come close to beating 1 or 2 this year. So
No, no, not at all. Not inside the Shore Conference. So you have the list in front of you, so I'll let you
I do.
go through the top 24, and then you could I guess the next 2 teams. I just don't think there's I think it's from the gap's like 3-point difference from 24 to 25.
It's 2.
Two.
2. So I did through 28, and the
Okay.
gap from 24 to 28 is 3 points. That's a lot to overcome in a day or so. And I don't know if some of these teams have games tomorrow or today. So it looks like the top 24 is pretty solid with a 2-point gap between Holmdel and Frielborough. So we'll go through the 1 through 24. Right now, RBC has 46.49 PowerPoints. Now, again, don't ask me how they calculate these things. I have no idea, but I'm just going by points. SJV is 3 points behind them at 43.65. Number 3, Manasquan. Number 4 is Rumson. 5 is Colts Neck. 6 is Howell. 7 Trinity. 8 Neptune. 9 Middletown South. 10 Toms River East. 11 Point Borough. 12 St. Rose. 13 Keensburg. 14 Southern. 15 Toms River South. 16 Brick Township. 17 Central. 18 Jackson. 19 Manchester. 20 Shore Regional. 21 Marlboro. 22 Red Bank Regional. 23 Freehold Township. And 24 Holmdel. Those are the top 24 based on PowerPoints right now that would be seeded into the Shore Conference tournament.
Yeah, and the question, for the division reps is you're gonna have to stay consistent with every team. So are you gonna lean on the PowerPoints? Are you gonna lean on strength of schedule?
Head to head.
St. Rose, where I think they're 15th right now, PowerPoints.
St. Rose right now is 12.
Oh,
They're 12.
So it's up. Since Monday they moved up because they had. So obviously, we both think they're going to be seated in the top 10, and rightfully so, because they do not have a single. I mean, they might consider the Red Bank Regional the last.
That's their worst loss. That's their worst loss on their right now on their ledger. And their best wins are Colts Neck and Rumson. So 2 teams are ahead of them. So
yeah. And
unfortunately, you look at it and you hope that some of their games against Manasquan, SJV, RBC were closer, and they weren't. Rutgers prep game was not close, and they've had some injury problems. Kids are still out. Some kids left school. Some kids quit the team. Whatever. But with all that being said, their last 2 games they look better than they have the previous couple of weeks. So it's going to be interesting how the committee looks at that.
Yeah, and Red Bank's kind of in that same boat. No real bad losses, but they went through that spell of dropping what, eight in a row? Was it eight in a row they lost, or seven in a row?
Yeah, eight in a row.
How much does the community look in that? Like I said, none of those losses were bad losses. They were all to mostly division opponents. But
Yeah, their best wins are Brick and St. Rose, and they don't have a bad loss. Nobody below them. They haven't lost to anybody below them. So um, right now, so if you want to go over the matchups as of right now, if they went strictly on PowerPoints, we can do that.
yeah, let's do that.
How that would be. So right now, the top 8 would be seeded with a bye, and then 9 through 24 would play first round games. So number 1, Red Bank Catholic would have a bye. They would play the winner of 16 Brick and 17 Central. That could be a good game, but the way Brick's playing,
Yeah,
they've been on a roll lately. Number 2, RBC would play the winner of 15 Tom's River South and 18 Jackson. That will be a good game. The second game probably won't be a good game against RBC.
SJV.
Against SJB. Yeah. So SJB would be 2. They played a winner of Tom's River South Jackson. Like I said, that would be a pretty good game. Unfortunately, the way they're seeded is into the SJB. Number 3, Squan would get the winner of 14 Southern and 19 Manchester, which again would be another good first round game. But again, probably not a good second round game. Number 4, Rumson would get the winner of Keensburg and Shore. Be interesting to see how Keensburg does against Shore, because Shore's a good team. They have good talent. They've had an up and down year, so it'd be interesting to see how Keensburg does against a team like Shore. And then, of course, the winner gets Rumson, who's on a bit of a losing streak, but again, to teams, except last night's loss to St. Rose, to teams ahead of them. So, number 5, Colts Neck would get the winner of St. Rose and Marlboro. That would be a tough matchup. If St. Rose gets by Marlboro, be a good game with Colts Neck in the second round. Number 6, Howell would get the winner of Point Borough and Red Bank Regional. Number 7, Trinity Hall would get the winner of Toms River East and Freehold Township. And Neptune would get the winner of Middletown South, who they've defeated twice already, and Homedale. So those would be the matchups that they went strictly on PowerPoints on Sunday.
Now, Middletown South, interesting. They're I think the first projections that we came out, I don't even know if South was in the tournament.
I think they were towards the top of the Coaches Cup, the first one that came out.
The very first one that came out. And now they're all the way close to 10, or they're at 10, or
they're at 10 right now. Oh, 9. They're at 9 right now.
They picked up some, pretty good wins towards the, tail end of the season. We figured new Coach Warner was going to take them a little bit to buy into his system, and he could. That's a program that the next few years I could see him, being consistently in the top 10 if the way him can continue to build it.
Right, and again, it's all about kids in town playing and their feeder program, their middle schools. But consistently they've had good teams. So if that stays true to form, then Coach Warner's a good coach. He'll get them consistently staying in the top 10.
Yeah. Now, where are they right now? Sorry,
number 9.
I mean Marlboro and Shore. Where are those two are in the PowerPoint?
Marlboro is 21 and Shore is 20, so they're right.
Now, Marlboro's 2-0. I think they beat them twice this year. Right?
Let's see, I don't know.
In the regular season.
Yeah, I don't have that.
Yeah, they beat them. Marlboro beat
So, if that's the case, then they'll probably move Marlboro ahead of Shore.
Yeah,
I would think if they go by head-to-head matchups, that would move a couple of these teams 1 or 2 spots.
Yeah, obviously that's going to play a factor in 6 and 7 with Howell and Trinity. I think Howell getting those two wins. Now back to Neptune. They won their division pretty easily.
Yeah, they
But
didn't lose a game in the division.
how do you think the committee? Well, you coached high school before. How much does the committee consider? When a star player is out for the season? And,
I mean, listen, their best win to date is Shore,
yeah,
who is number 20. And their only loss is to Rumson, and it was by 10 points.
yeah,
I think that might have been the game Howard got hurt.
yes, it was.
So it's tough because they're still playing well. They're beating the teams on their schedule. Lana Ellington's playing really well,
Yeah.
but I think that does hurt them a little bit that Howard's out if she's out for the year. Yeah, I don't know, but I wouldn't move them too far based on who's behind them. I probably wouldn't move them down too far. And unfortunately, right now at 9, you're right in RBCs. If you in the quarterfinals, if you pull the upset on the 8th seed, I mean in the second round, if you pull the upset on the 8th seed, what does that get you? RBC. So does it really matter if you move down 1 or 2 spots or move? So.
Okay. I don't. Any. I'm just looking at my list. Any big movers you think that you think you see a team moving up or down? In the room based off where they are right now for PowerPoints.
Okay, so I have St. Rose is at 12 based on PowerPoints. I have them moving up to number 8.
Okay.
Just based on their strength of schedule, their wins over Colts Neck and Rumson, their worst loss was to RBR. RBR again. Are they a number 16 team? Probably not, or whatever they're at 22. Are they probably not? I mean, they're all seniors and a sophomore to play center, but they're just not playing very well. So if they gel and get things together and get it right, they could beat teams ahead of them. But based on the way things are going this year, it doesn't seem like it's going to happen. Another team I have moving up a little bit is I have RBR moving up to 16 from 22. And that's just based on their experience, I guess. If you don't ding them too hard for this year, their best wins are Brick and St. Rose. They don't have a loss to anybody below them, but they haven't been competitive either in some of those games. So, it's one thing to play top teams. It's another thing to be competitive with them. Manasquan's been competitive with RBC twice. I mean, double-digit losses, yes, but competitive.
Mm-hmm.
RBR hasn't been competitive. So I don't know. I'd move them up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I think when the committee sits down, Keensburg right now is at 13. I have them moving down to 17. It's just weird. Like, where do you place them? They don't have a great win. Their best win is Ocean, I think. Take their division out of it because the division is not very good. But their best win is out of division is Ocean, who has 5 wins, 6 wins on the season. But they don't have a loss either. So I don't know how the committee is going to look at that. I do think they'll probably drop down a little bit from 13, but I have them at 17. And then I think that's all the big movers I have, up 4 or 5, down 3 or 4. But I think you might have a couple more than I do.
Yeah, I got Marlboro moving up a little bit. Just it was mainly because their division play beat Shore twice, so I had to put them above Shore, and Marlboro beat Manchester, so I considered the head to head a little more in my things. The issue is with a lot of these Ocean County teams, a lot of splits, a lot of games
right.
split. East and Jackson, but obviously you're gonna put Jackson ahead for winning the division.
Right, East and Manchester.
East and Manchester.
Split, right?
Well, Brick and Southern split. Brick and Tom's River South split.
And
But
Tom's River South tonight plays Southern.
that's
So
a
that
big,
will determine that division also. So if Southern beats Tom's River South, there could be a little bit of adjustment there also.
yeah, especially the way Southern has dropped a couple recently, where Brick is on the playing their best basketball, moving up in the rankings. So those were the big ones, and obviously the Freehold and Homedale. I think they keep them the same. They're 23, 24.
Yeah.
I don't see them moving.
Yeah, I put Marlboro just ahead of Shore, even though in the rankings Shore's just ahead of Marlboro for the fact of the two head-to-head losses.
Yeah.
Whereas Southern, I moved Southern down one. I put Tom's River South ahead of them, assuming South wins it again tonight, beats them for the second time.
Yeah.
Tom's River East is an interesting one. What do we do with Tom's River East? Because early in the season they were on a roll. They were playing really well
up until you go.
Kylie Francis got hurt, and it seems like the whole team just kind of fell apart after that.
Yeah, we saw them play on Wednesday. Struggled offensively. They really couldn't get anything going on the offensive end, and they gave up a lot of 3-point attempts against Jackson. I don't know if that was just kind of let their Jackson bigs try to beat you with their three. I don't know if that was their strategy, but that kind of backfired with the way Finer was shooting. But yeah, that's an interesting team early in the year. You thought they would, and they played some competitive games against those top, in the Kevin Williams Christmas Classic,
right?
Even the ones they lost. So, and they lost to Brick before the holiday break, and then they beat Brick, pretty easily in the
right after
game. So that is, how much are you pushing East back? Right now I have them around the 17, 18 mark, but I know PowerPoints wise they're way higher. But
PowerPoints are at 10. I dropped them to 11. There's an argument to put Point Borough ahead of them, the way Borough beat them the other night.
Yeah.
And that could happen. But then I have Brick at 13, and there's an argument to put Brick ahead of them too.
Yeah.
So there'll probably be a little moving and shaking going on Sunday. Just depends how. Listen, everybody wants to avoid 8, 9. Everybody wants to avoid 16, 17, 15, but there's only so many places you can go. And unfortunately, somebody's going to end up there.
Yeah. Yeah. Like take St. Rose, when they're playing their best ball, they're a team that could make the semifinals. But if they're stuck in the 8, 9, which we both agreed that's odds are they're going to end up in one of those spots. But that's where the politicking is going to take place on Sunday.
I mean, unfortunately, they're in the division with Manasquan, Rumson, SJV, RBC. So I really don't know how much they're going to politic at it. Like,
yeah,
right now they're at 12. I'm sure they want to stay there because that would put them in Colts next path.
Four,
right?
5, the 4-5.
Yeah, right. So, yeah, I guess their best bet is if everybody left them alone. But I think everybody knows they're a better team than where they are right now. And I think they're a better team than Neptune. I think they're a better team than Middletown South. I think they're a better team than Tom's River East. And I think they're a better team than Point Borough. So that's who you'd be moving them ahead of.
Yeah.
And if they did that, nobody could say, oh, that's unfair. No, they're better than those teams right between them and number 7 right now. So
yeah, I think you should just put all the teams in a hat after 4. Put them all in a hat.
we should make the 1 versus 2 game the showcase. Just move them to the championship. Yeah. They're playing for the championship. have a consolation game after the semifinals. You know,
Yeah.
because listen, it is what it is. They're the two best teams. Nobody's going to beat them.
Yeah.
They've already beaten each other this year,
Yes.
right? Each team's won on the other team's home court. Um, RBC was behind SJV in power points till they just beat Paul VI, which jumped them ahead of SJV. But SJV probably had a better win against RBC than RBC had against SJV. So
Yeah.
do you move SJV to number one? How are they going to handle that? I mean, I would just leave it by PowerPoints. Just leave RBC 1 and SJV 2. Honestly, it doesn't matter because they're both going to get there. So, you know.
That's what I have a feeling. That one, you know, head to head, 1-1. You know, people say, "Oh, SJV won last," but I think you probably do leave that to the PowerPoints. And honestly, does it really matter if they end up playing the 8-9 or 4-5?
7-10? Right? It doesn't matter.
It really doesn't matter the way, because they already beat the 3 and 4 teams, you know, in Swan and Rumson,
right?
And so it's not like one of them gave them a scare and they want to try to avoid them in, you know, in the quarters.
Right.
It really doesn't matter.
Right. It doesn't matter. So whether one's one and the other two, it doesn't really matter. They're going to end up at Monmouth University on the 20th. Like I said, barring some USA beating Russia in ice hockey miracle, which probably is not going to happen because I don't see any of those teams below them improving enough over the next week to beat the top two teams.
No, yeah. I mean, Swan played SJV Thursday. Was it yesterday? Or the day before? It was a 19-point game.
Right.
But yeah, and
like that's between the second and third team. So
yeah,
is Manasquan improving by 19 points all of a sudden? Probably not.
No. So yeah, and like they say in soccer, you got to beat everybody anyway if you want to win the trophy.
That's right. You're right. Yeah. Listen, you got to beat everybody. It'll be interesting to see who gets to the semifinals to face the 1 and 2 team.
Yeah.
Because it really could be anybody. Manasquan probably will get there.
Yeah.
RFH has been beaten a couple times.
Yeah.
Coltsneck's been beaten. Howell's been beaten. Trinity's been beaten. So it'd be interesting to see if it's one of those teams or if they get upset in the second round or the quarterfinals. And a team we didn't really think of makes it to the semifinals. But my bet this year of any year, it's probably 1 through 3 chalk.
Yeah.
Rumson probably has the next best chance of making the semifinals. But their last couple of games haven't been that great against good teams. Granted, again, against good teams. But you want to go into the tournament on the positive streak instead of a 5-game losing streak or whatever it is. That might mess with your mind a little bit, but I still think they probably get there unless St. Rose somehow ends up as the 12 seed. Then it puts them in the 4-5 game. You never know.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm sure, and Coltsneck probably won't mind that rematch against St. Rose and Rumson, because they lost to Rumson early this season.
Right.
Sure, they got that in the back of their heads. So
right now, Coltsneck won their division, but they're in a tough spot if St. Rose stays at number 12.
Yes, they are.
That's probably the toughest second round matchup.
Yeah.
And to get through them and then get RFH again, you know, as a 5 seed, I think they have a pretty tough road if everything stays the way it is right now.
So my thinking, if you're St. Rose, you want to stay out of the 8-9. But if you're the Rumson and Coltsneck and Howell, you want them in the 8-9.
Right, yeah, of course. Yeah. You want them as high as possible to avoid you.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, St. Rose doesn't want to be anywhere near there. They'd rather stay at 12
Yep.
because that puts them after the top four. They'd face number 5. So it'll be interesting. It'll definitely be interesting. If they move anybody, how far they move them. I think the two most interesting ones though will be how far down they move Keensburg, how far up they move St. Rose.
Yep, I agree.
I think those are probably the two most interesting ones that their seeding could end up being the difference between making the quarters or not.
Yeah. I just think last year they went strictly off PowerPoints. You only moved up a spot if you beat that previous team head to head, and you were only allowed to move up one spot.
One spot, right.
So I do like it this way better a little bit to get the best matchups, to get, you get it right that way instead of, teams that might have put together a great schedule to get them a lot of PowerPoints, but they're not as strong as where they, are standing in the PowerPoint.
Right. Or, Keensburg's 17-0, but they have 22 PowerPoints because the teams they play just aren't very good.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit of a disadvantage for them.
Yeah. Especially when you go into Central Jersey, because right now they're hovering at 4 or 5.
Right.
Which means they would have to go to
New Prov. Right.
In the semis.
Right. So that's a tough matchup.
And honestly, if I'm Kingsburg, for sectional purposes, if you could get whatever round you're going to face New Prov, whether it's going to be semis or the finals, if you could get to that game, to me, that's a remarkable season for them.
Absolutely. Listen, win a short conference tournament game, win a first round game. That's a great accomplishment. Yeah. And like I said, right now, what would they face? Right now, Keensburg would have Shore. I mean, it's not a automatic Shore victory.
Yeah.
If they move them down to where I think they're going to move them down, which would be the 17, that would give them RBR in the first round. That's pretty tough, So Keensburg's hoping they don't drop too far.
Yeah. And they want one home game.
I would think. I mean, I think that would be great if they got a home game against a traditional team that doesn't normally play them.
Yeah.
Pack that tiny little gym and
be like old school, like 1980s basketball, and get the upset. One player goes off, and you can pull the upset.
Yeah, it's happened. It's happened. Flansbaum could hit for 30, and I mean, it's going to be interesting. You hope they get a home game at least. I think that would be pretty fitting for them.
Yeah.
But they would have to end up as a 16 seed or higher to get a home game.
Yeah.
Right now they're at 13 by PowerPoints.
Yeah.
Does the committee keep them there or move them down a little bit? You never know.
Yeah. So a lot to figure out. I don't know what the schedule looks like for tomorrow, except for the Trinity game. And
there's I think that there's that War at the Shore down at Mainland tomorrow. I think.
Oh, that's late.
It's late. Yeah, they usually play that earlier, but I know there's a couple short teams playing those the Cape Atlantic teams tomorrow. Manchester's going down there and playing Atlantic Tech or something. Shore's going down. I saw them playing a team from the Cape Atlantic League. So I don't know how many games there are, but I know there's a couple games in that War at the Shore that's usually held at Mainland. I Googled it and couldn't find any schedule for it. So
new coach too, maybe because Mainland has a new coach this year.
Right.
So if somebody else is running it, or if they move locations, different school maybe.
Exactly. Because I just looked up Mainland War at the Shore. I mean, that was a perfect doubleheader. You go to the tournament, then you go to Atlantic City on the way home. That's why I always enjoyed it when Manchester played there. But yeah, it's late in the season, and the seating is Sunday at 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
So I think you and I will be there covering it. It'll be my first time at the seating meeting covering it, and it'll be interesting to see how much politicking goes on.
Yeah, that's what I've been involved with a couple soccer ones now, and I have to say, I know the way soccer does it with the World Cup format makes it a lot easier. So there's not really a lot of debating going on. It's pretty straightforward. You win your group, you're 1 through 8. Second, you're 9 through 16, and then if you finish third, you're the bottom 8. And soccer, it's pretty straightforward. There's just a few questions usually, head to head. If somebody beats somebody, that's really it. But I'm
Right.
curious because all 24 teams are up for all 24 spots in the basketball one. So I'm curious, be
Yeah.
interested to see how, and it's good insight to see what coaches think. Like, so that way, me and Doug, next year we could talk a little, better and knowing what coaches are looking at exactly, and we could kind of pinpoint where these teams are going to be a little bit better probably next year.
Right.
No,
When you say all 24 spots are open, I'd say
well,
all 22 spots are open.
21 probably. 20,
Yeah, 21. I'd say 21 are open, but
yeah. So that
even
is,
still, like, do they go on RBR playing in the toughest division
yeah.
and struggling in that division, but still having a seasoned veteran team? Um, do they go by more? How, like, okay, like I said, it's one thing to play those teams, and it's another thing to be competitive with those teams. Do they take the lack of competition, lack of competitive games into account? It'll be interesting. Who who is leading this the meeting? Who is it the short conference coaches rep, which I think is Dan? Is he?
I I don't know. Um, so the way that soccer is, you had the one AD with the boys separate, and then Will from Pinelands was usually in the girls' room, and the coaches usually just the division reps just let it go really. I don't know how I don't know how basketball works.
Yeah, it'll be like I said, it'll be interesting to see, and as soon as the seedings come out, we'll probably put those on the website at
Yeah,
Shore Sports Insider um,
yeah, we'll
with the
talk.
first round matchups, and then Monday, Nick and I will be um, doing another podcast with a former Shore Conference coach who's going to help us break down the matchups, and then that'll be for the first round, and maybe Wednesday we'll do one for the round of 16. Have someone on to help us make predictions for that. And as we go on, that's what we like to do. We like to, before each round, have somebody on that knows a little bit about Shore Conference and can help us with the breakdown of the matchups and make our predictions.
Yeah, and I do like this year. The Coaches Cup championship is actually the next day, where last year they played the same day. So I'll be able to we'll be able to get to that, whoever is playing in those games. I do like that they switched that for this year. It'll be at whoever the higher seed is.
I also like that they moved the boys and girls to different locations for
For the
the quarterfinals. The girls will be at Homedale High School. Um, Semifinals are at Brookdale, which is a little odd. Never been there
Yeah,
before. And then the final is the 20th at 6 o'clock at Monmouth University with the boys
yeah,
to follow.
yeah. I'm curious why Brookdale. Especially since the boys and girls are on 2 different days. So, but
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, listen, I like the court at Brookdale. I think it's a pretty cool place to play, but just an odd choice. Maybe it was the only thing open. Maybe other schools weren't available. But listen, it gives you the big game feel.
Yeah.
It's a college gym. It's
Kids
been
like
used
it.
for big games before. So that will make the semifinals feel a little bigger, and then of course the final at Monmouth, which everybody loves, having the championship games there.
Yeah. Yeah. So fun. Yeah, I've only been to Brookdale once. I think it was one of the boardwalk, the Hoop Group boardwalk,
They just had the Boardwalk Classic there.
a couple years ago.
Yeah, I've been there a bunch of times for boys shootouts, and it's a cool place. It's a round
Yeah.
gym, seats all over the place, and it'll be good.
Yeah, should be fun. So, all right. I think that's it until Monday.
Till Monday. You'll know Sunday afternoon into evening probably. The seeds will be out, and we'll put the matchups up, and
Yeah,
everybody
Matt.
can start speculating.
Matt usually has like the page ready to go for, and then we could fill it in for him if need. We'll talk. Obviously Matt will be there for the boys, so
Right.
we'll touch base with him, and it'll be up on the website as soon as it becomes official, and they tell us we could publish.
Yep.
So
Looking forward to it.
yeah. So all right, everyone. It's almost dinner time. We're tired of this weather. Can't wait for it to get warmer.
It's gonna get cold again this weekend, so enjoy
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, and
I've
windy.
only fallen twice in the past 2 weeks, so I guess that's a good thing.
And it's supposed to be very windy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
so no snow comes, I'm happy.
Hopefully tonight they said anywhere from a dusting to 3 inches, but let's hope it's on the dusting side.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So,
All right, people.
all right, everyone. Have a good night.
Take care.